And you need to truly, when you're looking for a spouse, you need to really be sincere and wanting the spouse who has the best deen and who has the best khuluq. And here is why, a lot of times we talk about the concept of dating, right? Are we allowed to date in Islam? Well, it depends how you define dating. Are we allowed to get to know one another before Islam and ask each other necessary questions? Yes. We can sit with each other, as long as we're not alone, right? In a situation where, one thing can lead to the other, so on and so forth, And by the way, there's khalwa when you're sitting together, and there's khalwa on the computer. Also, there's cyber khalwa. Like when you're talking to each other on Facebook chat or GChat and nobody else is watching, and then you start getting a little bit flirty, and you start noticing that after a week, more smiley faces are popping up. All right, this is not becoming, this isn't to the point anymore, what's happening at this point, right? So, are we allowed to get to know one another? Yes. And in this day and age, I think it's absolutely important for, a potential husband and a potential wife to sit together and talk before they get married. It is vital at this point because, these days, people have very weird views, have very weird leanings, and then all of a sudden when they get married, it's like, here's the surprise. Right? So many different surprises here and there. To get together and to ask each other, to see what their common interests are, their common goals, right? Their views on deen. These are so important, right? Not that after they get married, by the way, you're not allowed to work. By the way, you're not allowed to drive. By the way, I married a second wife like 10 years ago. Wait, what? You were supposed to be Mr. No, you sit together and you ask one another. You talk to one another, right? But not in a way that's inappropriate. Not in a way that becomes flirtatious or unnecessary, right? And does that work? Statistically speaking, it works a whole lot better than the quote-unquote love marriages whenever people come together and whenever people have experimented all of the things that they're not supposed to experience until after marriage, and then once they get married, the only thing that kicks in is responsibility. And that really sucks, when responsibility gets kicked into it. It's like, I was enjoying myself without marriage. Why do I have to get married now? SubhanAllah, why did I add all this undue burden upon myself? And then some Muslims ask, well, why can't we, we don't have to sleep with each other, we don't have to commit zina, we don't have to do all that stuff. Why can't we just talk with each other? Why can't we just, go out to with each other, watch a movie, hold hands, things of that sort? And I'll explain to you why. At that point, and this is just human emotion, by the way, do you or do you not think that your decision will be biased after that? Think about it. The whole thing has become slanted at that point. Right? Because you're infatuated, and you might be taking that as being love, but you're infatuated. Right? You've already experienced the face that the person puts on outside. You've already experienced some of the joys and things of that sort. Right? And so your decision making is now flawed. Right? And at that point, let me tell you what happens. And this happens in MSAs or ISOCs or whatever it is, in different college organizations, different Islamic organizations. People have gotten to know one another. Then, Sheikh, I want to marry her. Why do you want to marry her? Because she's religious. Okay. Why is she religious? Because at that point, your decision making is flawed. Do you know why? Because everything she does at that point, or everything he does at that point, you're going to interpret it as being religious. Like, Sheikh, mashallah, she's so good, she prays. The other day I saw her driving and she was listening to Surah Al-Rahman. Oh, she's so good. Like everything, you will force her to be religious, you will force him to be religious, even if they're not religious at that point. Why? Because you've already made up your mind. And your decision making is flawed at that point. Your decision making is flawed at that point. Right? So subhanAllah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us an opportunity. You pursue a person for deen, and you pursue them for khuluq, and you pursue them thinking, putting all of the factors into play, because this is an extremely important decision. Right? And you can imagine, subhanAllah, there's so much adab, so much punishment that comes from just continuous dating and testing the waters here and there. SubhanAllah, a lot of times, just ask the people that, or some of you may have been in this situation where you used to do this and then now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala guided you and things of that sort. When you used to date, that's hell. That's torture. Right? You invest yourself emotionally into something. You tell someone all of your secrets, and then all of that falls apart, and then you go, it's like a roller coaster. Next person. right? You go through that, you experience the joys, you think that this is the right person, and then boom, that's done too. And you keep going and going and going and going, and then once you get married, what makes you think that you're going to be able to have a happy marriage? You're already used to relationship failure. You've already been with different people, so you'll get sick of your spouse very, very, very quickly. And then you say, why is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doing this to me? Right? Why did Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put me in an unhappy relationship? Think about that for a moment. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He gives us وَمِنْ آيَاتِهِ أَنْ خَلَقَ لَكُم مِّنْ أَنفُسِكُمْ أَزْوَاجًا لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. From the signs of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, for those who think and who contemplate, He created for you spouses from amongst yourselves. And here are the functions of a marriage. لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. A second in the Arabic language is what? Your home, right? لِتَسْكُنُوا إِلَيْهَا. You dwell with that person, you find comfort in that person. What are the functions of a home? Right? وَجَعَلَ بَيْنَكُمْ مَوَدَّةً وَرَحْمَةً. Mawadda is to want to please someone else. وَرَحْمَةً, and compassion and mercy. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts these things between the spouses. Right? And they grow together. They learn about each other over time. And you know what? They're learning to love everything about each other, and they're looking at each other from the lens of deen and khuluq. So even when these superficial things start to fall apart, because guess what? If you're beautiful, you get older. Right? Whenever the beauty starts to fade away, if money fades away, right? If the money starts to go down the drain too, how many marriages fall apart because of financial troubles? Right? SubhanAllah, I mean, I was reading something in Newsweek, I remember, maybe a year ago, that was talking about the effect of the economic crisis on marriages. That marriage cannot stand on its 2 feet anymore. Why? Because the money's gone. Everything's falling apart. So the things of deen and khuluq aren't there to hold that marriage. Right? But Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gives us those things. You make that the basis. Right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says, هُنَّ لِبَاسٌ لَكُمْ وَأَنْتُمْ لِبَاسٌ لَهُمْ. They are a garment for you, and you are a garment for them. So essentially, whenever I go looking for a person, I'm looking for a person who's, am I looking for a person who's less than me in deen, who I can correct and I can bring to my standard of deen? Like, yeah, she's really pretty and she has potential. Or he seems like a really good guy, he has potential. Do I look for someone who has potential? Do you walk into a supermarket and see a cloth, see a shirt that's hanging and say, this shirt has a lot of potential. If I take it home and I cut it up, no, if it's not ready for me, if it's not ready, if this is not the shirt that I'm going to be able to put on tomorrow that's going to immediately beautify me, I don't want that shirt, right? So, subhanAllah, I don't look for potential. I don't even look for someone who's just equal to me in deen. What do I look for? I look for someone who's better than me in deen, so that they can cover my faults and beautify me in those same spots where I know that I'm lacking, right? I know that I can do better, right? So I look for someone who's better in deen to make me that better person, right? And khuluq, because khuluq is important too. Yes, there are some people that on the way to becoming religious people turn out, subhanAllah, I always say this, on your way to becoming a religious person, don't become a crappy human being. Seriously. So some people on their way to becoming religious become jerks somewhere along the line. Right? Become judgmental, become arrogant, become prideful. They start to think that they have understood the Quran and Sunnah and everybody else is upon falsehood and the truth lies through me and things of that sort. You avoid those types of people. Trust me, those people are worse than the ones that don't have deen or khuluq, because they're using the deen and they're just adding that into their superficiality. Right? You look for those things that can, you look for that person that wants to grow in the deen. And if the priority is deen, if the priority is akhirah, then you will see incredible things happen. And you will see that that relationship will be able to withstand the trials and the other things. And I'm going to end with just one story. This is a very powerful story, and it shows you what the deen is about. It shows you how deen can actually infuse love inside of a relationship. There's a hadith from the Messenger ﷺ, before I even tell this story. It's a beautiful hadith, right? Imam Ahmad rahimahullah narrates it in his Musnad. It's an authentic hadith. The Prophet ﷺ said, رحم الله امرأ قام من الليل فصلى وأيقظ امرأة فصلت فإن أبت ملح في وجهها الماء. SubhanAllah. May Allah have mercy on a man who wakes up in the middle of the night to pray. Right? He wakes up for Qiyamul Layl. So he wakes up his wife to pray and she refuses. And she stands up and prays, and if she refuses, he goes and he takes a little bit of water. Okay, he doesn't go and take a flower pot or those things, or a hose, right? Or, water gun. No. He goes and he takes a little bit of water, he sprinkles it on her face so that she could wake up and pray with him. Right? And then Rasulullah ﷺ said, وَرَحِمَ اللَّهُ إِمْرَأَةً قامت من الليل فصلت وأيقظت زوجها فصلى فإن أبى نضحت في وجهه الماء. And may Allah have mercy on a woman who wakes up in the middle of the night. This is a two-way street. Remember? This is a two-way street. She wakes up in the middle of the night to pray. And she tries to wake up her husband to pray too. And if he refuses, she takes some water and she sprinkles it into his face. Right? To wake him up. Right? Two people that are growing in the deen together. Two people that are looking for something that cannot be given to them in this world, but they know is guaranteed. So long as the other person is capable of getting me closer to that goal, then that person is a valuable asset in my life. It's as simple as that. So long as I can see this person as someone who's bringing me closer to my goal, so if my goal is akhirah, then I need that person in my life. Right? SubhanAllah. And once you start seeing marriage that way, rather than just, of course you started off with the right way, you start looking for deen and things of that sort, but as long as you see marriage in that way, rather than just a trial run, because in this day and age, honestly, you go into a marriage, and that possibility, that looming possibility that this might not be the right one, is always there, and that haunts you, and at the end of the day, it's almost like you have more than a 50% chance of getting divorced. Even in the Muslim community, by the way, divorce rates are going up. Why? Because they start for the wrong reasons. They're built upon faulty foundations. Right? So they're not able to hold that pressure. They're not able to withstand it. So, subhanAllah, but if we looked at it with the sense that this is something that's permanent, I have to make this work only under, only under extreme circumstances. Am I going to let this fall apart? Then you'll make it work, inshaAllah ta'ala. You'll compromise for the other person. You'll compromise to make things work. Why? Because at the end of the day, what I married this person for, deen, they still got that. And they're still looking for the same goal I'm looking for, and we're helping each other get there, inshaAllah.